Empty your pockets and lie face down. A service weapon tracks a black motorcyclist who has broken no law. Sergeant Nolan Tate rips off the rider's helmet, revealing features etched by restraint and iron will. Nice machine for someone like you. Where'd you lift it? The rider's keen gaze locks on Tate's badge and nameplate. Officer Tyler Brooks upends the saddlebags, scattering gear, receipts, and a sealed envelope, while dust curls up from the shoulder. Classified-looking papers flutter like confetti. Colonel Adrian Cole, Tate reads with a theatrical scoff. Sure. And I'm the Emperor, playing G.I. Joe. He plants a boot between the rider's shoulder blades. If you're a colonel, I'm the commander-in-chief. The rider speaks once, silk over steel. I need to place one call. Lawyers don't do curbside consults. Tate laughs as the cuffs bite into wrists painfully. A dangerous calm settles over the rider's face. You have 5 minutes before you ruin your career beyond repair. As the patrol unit pulls away, orbital assets quietly acquire its signal and follow. Colonel Adrian Cole guides his custom Harley along the sun-baked ribbon of highway outside Lakeside, engine hum steady, posture disciplined. He clocks every mile marker and license plate, storing details without effort, a habit honed from decades of operational checklists and after-action reports. His kit, premium yet understated, reveals nothing of 32 years in uniform or his current role directing special operations logistics at the Pentagon. The veteran's mental health charity ride threads him through small towns like this most weekends. Off base, he's another black man on an expensive motorcycle. At the town limits, Tate idles with Officer Brooks, cruiser ticking in the heat, windows smudged. They've been parked there long enough to memorize the creases in the horizon. Tate, a 19-year veteran, now 41, drums impatient fingers on the steering wheel. The sergeant's long-anticipated promotion hasn't materialized, souring his outlook. Beside him, Brooks, 26 and fresh-faced, studies Tate for lessons on how real policing works. Look at that, Tate mutters as Cole's Harley glides past. Custom work isn't cheap, not typical for this town. Cole refuels, grabs water. Mrs. Whitaker spots his military ID and nods. Thank you for your service. Back in the cruiser, Tate keeps his eyes glued to Cole as he exits the store. Let's see what he's running. They slide out behind the motorcycle. No violations occur, yet Tate flips the lights anyway. Cole signals correctly, eases to the shoulder, kickstand down, palms open on the grips. Textbook compliance. Through the mirrors, he watches their approach. Expression neutral, eyes carrying the fatigue of experience. Insignia won't shield him from what's coming. It never has. Tate approaches, palm resting on his holster, posture all sharp angles, license and registration. May I reach for my wallet, officer? Cole asks, voice deliberately calm. Slowly, Tate snaps, turning the word into accusation. Cole produces his military ID and registration with deliberate care. Colonel, Tate repeats with a smirk. In which army? United States Army, Cole answers evenly. 32 years. Brooks shifts on his heels, discomfort growing as facts refuse to match the sergeant's tone. Tate ignores the identification entirely. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? The questions spill without acknowledgement. Cole explains the charity ride in clipped, respectful sentences. Tate's face hardens. Off the bike. Now. May I ask why I'm being told to dismount, officer? Cole maintains eye contact. Because I said so. Do it. Cole swings a leg over, with military precision, choosing discipline over pride, aware what happens to black men who contest authority. Hands visible. Sunlight flashes off the Harley's polished chrome as Tate circles like a hungry cat. Brooks lingers by the front fender, scanning Cole's ID again. This looks off, Tate declares, though the holograms and microprint scream real. Plenty of counterfeits out there. Cole's tone stays steady. Officer, I've identified myself properly. Why was I stopped? Reports of trafficking on this stretch. Tate lies smoothly. No such reports exist. Mind if we check your bags? Tate asks, tone making it clear it isn't a request. He nods, and Brooks moves toward the saddlebags. Officer, you need probable cause to search my property, Cole says, voice firm but measured. Tate leans in, using height like a weapon. Refusing a search? What are you hiding, Colonel? Brooks hesitates, sensing the wrongness, yet unsure how to challenge. I'm not refusing, Cole clarifies. I'm invoking my rights as a citizen. Step back and lace your fingers on your head, Tate orders, voice hardening. His hand inches toward his holster, a calculated twitch. Cole complies with exactness, posture betraying years of drilled responses. I'd like to speak with your supervisor, officer. Oh, special treatment now? Tate sneers. Not happening. The radio crackles about a disturbance across town. Tate pointedly ignores it, attention glued to Cole, as if nothing else exists in the county. Cole notices Tate's body camera is off. He checks his watch, a deliberate movement. Brooks rifles the bags without authorization and lifts a sealed envelope marked with military insignia. Tate snatches it and rips it open. That's classified material, officer, Cole says, a commander's authority, sliding through restraint. Sure it is, Tate scoffs, scattering pages for the wind. A silver sedan slows. A woman raises her phone to record. Tate shouts for her to move along. Cole stands beside the motorcycle, fingers interlaced atop his head, posture squared and calm. Heat shimmers off the asphalt, baking through his riding pants. Decades of discipline translate humiliation into silence and breath control. Tate circles, predatory and impatient, while Brooks hangs back, frowning at the ID's visible security features. Every violation is logged in Cole's mind. Time, tone, movements, missing camera, ordered with the same precision he'd apply to a mission debrief. Tate taps the ID with a fingernail. Doesn't look right. Plenty of fakes on the street. Cole's reply is measured. I've complied fully. May I know the reason for the stop? We've had intel about couriers using this route, Tate lies, voice smooth as oil. Nothing in his cadence acknowledges the lawful documents in his hand, or the lack of a single traffic violation. Brooks glances away, uneasy. Mind if we take a look in your saddlebags? Tate asks, already nodding to Brooks. It's not a question. Cole's voice remains formal. Officer, you need probable cause or my consent to search a vehicle. You have neither. Tate steps closer until Cole can smell his aftershave. Questioning a lawful search? What's hidden, Colonel? Brooks' hands hover, then move. Trained reflex winning over policy training, he barely remembers. I'm not refusing, Cole answers, keeping his tone cool. I'm asserting constitutional rights. Tate's shadow falls across him, heavy as a threat. Step back, hands on your head. Cole obeys without flourish. The move lands with the quiet precision of drill. Tate's fingers toy with the holster snap again, a pantomime of escalation. Brooks pauses, eyes moving between them, the lesson he's learning nothing like the academy promised. I want your supervisor notified, Cole says, eyes steady. You want special treatment? Tate sneers. Not happening. The radio coughs alive, dispatch flagging a disturbance across town, but Tate ignores it with ostentatious calm. Fixated, he keeps the scene small. Him, the rider, the bike, the heat shimmering between them. Brooks shifts, thumb brushing his still-running body camera, a small island of policy amid the sergeant's disregard, the only lens here unwilling to look away. Cole clocks the dark square where Tate's camera should be blinking. He glances at his watch again, subtle, deliberate, time-stamping each misstep. Brooks starts rooting through the bags despite the lack of consent. He pulls a sealed envelope bearing an embossed military crest. Tate yanks it free and tears it open, paper ripping in a way that makes Cole's jaw tighten despite himself. Protocol tossed like roadside litter everywhere. That is classified material, officer, Cole says, his tone sharpening with command authority. Right, Tate mocks, letting documents flutter across the shoulder like playing cards. The wind snatches a page and skates it under a tire. Another lifts, flashing a watermark. Cole's breathing stays even, but his eyes harden. Every sheet must be recovered. Every sheet represents risk and an after-action report he never wanted writing. Ever. A silver sedan slows. The driver, a middle-aged woman, lifts a phone, camera already rolling. Tate barks at her to keep moving, temper flaring as attention drifts from his script. Cole remains motionless, every misstep indexed with time, location, witness, and phrasing. He files it all where he files everything, in order, in sequence, ready to retrieve in sworn testimony or a formal report if necessary soon. "Where'd you get this motorcycle?" Tate asks, running a hand over the bars with possessive curiosity. "Seems too pricey for—" He stops short of speaking the bias aloud. "I purchased it legally," Cole replies. "Registration is in your hand." Tate unclips the cuffs with a metallic rattle. "On your knees. Now." Cole lowers himself to the blistering pavement without complaint, face impassive, dignity coiled tight, heat burning through textile and patience. Tate snatches Cole's helmet by the strap and yanks it away. "No face coverings out here." He tosses the expensive gear onto the shoulder. It bounces once and rolls into dust. Cole's close-cropped gray hair catches the sun. A thin scar traces his right cheekbone, a souvenir from another continent. His eyes, undisturbed, continue their calculus of names, numbers, angles, and distances, the battlefield translated to asphalt and arrogance. "Colonel Cole," Tate mimics, weighing the ID with naked disdain. "Sure, and I'm General Patton." He flips the card into the dust near Cole's knees with a casual flick. Brooks keeps digging through compartments, pulling a small metal case. He opens it to reveal military challenge coins and medals nested in foam, the kind presented after hard deployments, not bought at a swap meet. The younger officer's expression shifts as evidence accumulates. Those eyes have surveyed battlefields on 3 continents and now watch injustice unfolding on American pavement, measured and unblinking. Tate flicks another glance at the coins, uninterested in what they represent, intent only on confirming his story. Brooks' posture tightens, the first sprout of doubt poking through Academy certainties, because nothing about Cole's bearing, identification, or effects reads like counterfeit pretenses or weekend cosplay. Everything squares, with real service. Tate digs into Cole's wallet now, shaking out credit cards, receipts, and a small photograph. The photo shows Cole in dress uniform standing with senior brass. Brooks swallows. "These look legitimate," he says softly. Tate ignores him and deliberately steps past the photograph, boot heel nearly kissing the image. Cole's gaze tracks badge numbers, radio call signs, and the shape of this crowd gathering across the street. Nothing escapes him. The digital readout on Tate's watch. Brooks's growing uncertainty, the tone of the dispatcher's ignored call, the traffic pattern bending around the flashing lights, the mirrored sunglasses of a man across the street, angling his phone for a better shot, the muttered commentary from the gas station doorway. Each detail slots into place, mapped to time and witness as if plotted on a sand table. "Where'd you steal these military trinkets from?" Tate demands, nudging a challenge coin with his boot. "Those are earned decorations, officer," Cole replies evenly, even as humiliation scrapes the edges of dignity. Across the street, the gas station door swings open. Mrs. Whitaker steps out, hand to her mouth, eyes widening. Others join her, phones lifted, silent witnesses collecting like storm clouds gathering over an overheated plane. Tate notices the growing audience and raises his voice. "Nothing to see here. Move along." Then to Cole. "Your kind always turns simple stops into production." Cole does not flinch. The phrase lands and is filed, word for word, with date, time, distance, and witness angle. The lenses keep recording, indifferent to command tone, indifferent to swagger, indifferent to any story besides what unfolds in pixels, light, and sound. Brooks discovers a compact satellite phone in a side compartment, sleek and ruggedized, the kind meant to bounce signals off orbit. "Look at this," he calls to Tate. "Drug dealers love these," Tate says, examining it as if radioactive. High-tech way to stay invisible. "Standard issue for my assignment," Cole answers flatly. Tate laughs and tosses the device beside the scattered papers, another expensive thing finding dust and disdain. "Officer Tate," Cole says, leaning on the name. "You are making a significant mistake." Tate freezes. "How do you know my name?" "It's on your plate, officer," Cole Cole replies, gaze unwavering. What else do you think you know? Tate demands, paranoia threading through his voice. Enough to suggest you reconsider, Cole says. Tate jerks Cole's arms behind his back, cuffing with unnecessary force, threatening an officer now. Maybe we should call this in, Brooks says quietly. Check him out. He's playing you, Tate snaps. These guys always have a story. I need to place a call within the next 5 minutes, Cole says. It concerns national security. Tate laughs. National security? You can call your lawyer at the station. That would be unwise, Cole replies, voice unruffled by the cuffs, simply conveying objective facts. Brooks glances at Tate again. We should verify, Sarge. Run his info before we process anything. Tate's voice sharpens. You losing your nerve? He's conning you. These guys always do. Cole watches the second hand sweep his watch face, breath steady, shoulders squared. Despite the restraints, a countdown only he understands unfolding behind his calm, a protocol established for emergencies he never expected to invoke on a roadside. Tate hauls Cole toward the cruiser. You're under arrest for possessing falsified government documents and resisting arrest. I haven't resisted, Cole says evenly, and my documents are authentic. Across the street, the crowd has thickened, phones held high like small, silent protests, lenses soaking up heat mirage and indignity and protocol drift. The spectacle documents itself from 100 angles, none flattering to the sergeant's choices or tone. An elderly veteran in the gathering crowd blinks, recognition snapping into place. Harold Mason, 74, former Army sergeant, has seen Cole's face in Army Times just last month. His hands tremble with anger as the patrol car pulls away. That officer just cuffed Colonel Adrian Cole, he tells Mrs. Whitaker, who stands struck dumb in the doorway. Are you sure? She asks. I'm certain. My grandson serves under him. I need to use your phone, Mason says, jaw set. Inside, he dials with decisive speed. His grandson answers on the second ring. Lieutenant David Mason speaking. David, it's Grandpa. Listen, they've detained Colonel Cole. Roadside harassment. No cause. Officer named Tate. Silence then. Colonel Cole, Deputy Director? On what grounds? Looked like profiling. Pure and simple. We're at the Lakeside gas station just off the highway right now. Understood, sir, Lieutenant Mason replies, his voice tightening into formal alertness as training takes over. I'll inform command immediately. Thank you. The call ends. Harold Mason hands the phone back to Mrs. Whitaker, expression carved from granite, shoulders squared by old muscle memory. Now we wait, he says, though his eyes are already sweeping sky and road, as if the cavalry could materialize from either direction soon. In the back of the cruiser, Cole sits upright despite the cuffs, dragging his shoulders back uncomfortably. Discomfort is irrelevant. He has endured worse for longer. Training included resistance scenarios, survival in captivity, control under pressure, and the discipline to choose silence. This situation differs in jurisdiction, but mirrors power dynamics he recognizes instantly, from checkpoints overseas to traffic stops at home, where outcomes hinge on someone else's impulse. Tate drives, stealing glances at the rear view too often, fingers tight on the wheel. Cole's steady gaze in the mirror unsettles him in ways he can't articulate. I'm telling you, Brooks murmurs. Something's off. We should verify before booking. You going soft? Tate snaps. He's hustling you. Don't fall for it. Cole watches the minute hand inch. The specialized watch on his wrist begins a silent countdown, visible only to him. At the gas station, Harold Mason relays the situation in crisp, practiced shorthand into Mrs. Whitaker's phone. They took Colonel Cole. No cause. Sergeant Nolan Tate, Lakeside. Lieutenant Mason's response tightens immediately. Understood. I'm escalating now. In the cruiser, the specialized watch on Cole's wrist vibrates once. Confirmation that emergency protocols have been triggered. An invisible net waking up far above and just down the road, already moving. Inside a secure installation 30 miles away, Lieutenant Mason moves with purpose through layered checkpoints, badge unlocking doors on reflex. Sir, we have a situation. Colonel Adrian Cole has been detained by local police. On what authority? None evident, sir. Profiling suspected. Alarms ripple through the chain of command with practiced efficiency. Phones light up, secure messages fly, and personnel begin to mobilize, each motion smooth as a drill. The operations floor slams to alert. A duty officer opens a secure circuit while the watch commander throws satellite overlays onto a wall screen. Colonel Cole is unlawfully detained with sensitive materials, Lieutenant Mason reports. The base commander rises. Notify J3, brief legal, spin up military police. He pivots to communications. Do we have track on the patrol car? Affirmative, visual and telemetry. Launch aviation. Engines cough to life, crews sprint, and a route map blooms across the room. A staff judge advocate arrives, tablet in hand. Jurisdiction is civilian, sir, but the national security risk is substantial. The commander nods. We support, not supplant. Coordinate with the state and the Pentagon. He turns to Mason. You ride with the MP convoy. Updates every 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Outside, black SUVs align nose to tail. Air crews jog to 2 dark helicopters, rotors starting their impatient metallic whisper as ground teams load evidence kits, radios, and medical bags with practiced economy. In the cruiser, Cole finally speaks. Sergeant Tate, this is your last clean off-ramp. Tate snorts, though doubt flickers. Save it for the magistrate. In roughly 3 minutes, decisions above your pay grade will overtake you, Cole replies, voice even, less a threat than a forecast. Brooks checks his phone and pales. Sarge, social's blowing up. People say he's really senior. Since when is Twitter probable cause? Tate growls, sweat beating at his temples as the station looms ahead. Inside the operations center, the rhythm quickens, a concise brief. Colonel detained roadside. Custody chain disrupted. Body cam discrepancy observed. The commander's tone is clipped. Secretary of Defense notified. Interagency engaged. Aviation set. He glances at the clock. MP convoy. Depart on my mark. Confirmed satellite track confirmed. Move. The convoy rolls from the gate, Humvees and patrol units slotting into formation. Urgency vibrates in the vehicles, contained by training and checklists that sand chaos into procedure. Controllers read coordinates as the helicopters lift and tilt east, blades beating the afternoon into submission. In Lakeside, Chief Raymond Bennett's phone lights during a budget meeting. The mayor's office flashes. He steps into the hall. Chief, why is the governor hearing from the Pentagon before me? The mayor barks. I'll get answers, Bennett says. Get results. The line dies. Bennett pivots toward the dispatch, jaw tight, the heavy throb of trouble settling behind his eyes like weather. Dispatch keeps hailing Tate. He won't answer. Where is he? Bennett asks. Approaching the station. 3 minutes out. Outside, Cole sits tall in the back seat, gaze steady in the mirror. Your chief is trying to reach you, he says. How would you know? Tate snaps. Because 30 seconds from now, your decisions meet consequences, Cole replies, matter of fact. Bennett barrels through the lobby and onto the steps, barking orders. Every available officer to the lot. Full uniforms. Body cameras live. The cruiser noses into the lot and stops dead. A wall of uniforms waits. The department lined like a formation that forgot to smile. Bennett strides forward and chops the air. Tate! Freeze! Do not move. Uncuff him immediately, Tate blinks, anger and confusion wrestling. He had fake credentials, Chief. That is Colonel Adrian Cole, Deputy Director for Special Operations Logistics, Bennett says, each word a gavel strike. Tate glances around, suddenly aware he's alone in a crowded room. Brooks moves first, opens the rear door, and removes the cuffs with careful hands. I'm sorry, sir, he murmurs. Above the roofline, the distant thrum of rotors gains teeth. Government SUVs sweep in, doors opening before tires settle. Cole steps out, straightens his jacket, and nods to Brooks. Thank you, officer. Tate backs away, a defensive story building in his throat. He was acting suspicious. I was riding a public road, Cole answers, tone level, gravity without force. A ring of military police forms around Cole in crisp choreography. A major approaches at speed and salutes. Sir, are you unharmed? Cole returns it cleanly. I'm fine. Secure the site. Account for every document dispersed along the roadway. Already underway, the major says, gesturing toward a collection team deploying from a command SUV. Overhead, helicopters bank to a holding pattern, their low hum pressing on concrete as reporters skid to the curb, antenna masts spiking into blue. The first olive-drab trucks arrive and establish a perimeter. Soldiers step off in methodical pairs, channeling traffic, sealing entrances, and tamping chaos. In minutes, a small-town parking lot resembles a temporary forward operating base. At the center stands Cole, no longer detainee but hub. Bennett looks from Cole to Tate, fury caged by protocol. Not one answered radio call? Not one. He pinches the bridge of his nose, then gestures toward the lobby. Colonel, inside. We'll fix this properly. Bennett walks Cole through sliding doors, apologies tumbling out in restrained fragments. Colonel, our department deeply regrets. Cole cuts gently. This isn't about apologies, Chief. It's about training and bias. Bennett nods once, chastened. Sergeant Tate has prior complaints, he admits, yet he's still on your line, Cole answers, pausing him cold. Outside, Tate drifts toward his car, eyes calculating escape. Two MPs appear as if conjured. Sergeant Tate, one says evenly, Colonel Cole requires your presence. Tate stiffens. He has no authority over municipal officers. The MP doesn't blink. Perhaps. The federal agents who just arrived, do two figures in dark suits glide from the doorway, credentials displayed. Officer Tate, says Agent Marisol Cruz. Agent Neil Patel. Civil Rights Division color drains from Tate's face. Civil rights? We'll need a complete statement, Cruz says, voice almost gentle. I did my job, Tate protests. The phones outside suggest otherwise, Patel replies, with surgical politeness. In a glass-walled conference room, Cole confers with military counsel. Jurisdiction lines get drawn with a lawyer's pen, civilian process leads. Military interests are document integrity and officer safety. We can make this evaporate administratively, sir, a counsel murmurs. Cole shakes his head. Then nothing changes. This proceeds through proper channels. It may become a media circus. Then it does, Cole says. Accountability isn't tidy. Across the bullpen, Brooks waits, nervous but determined to speak. Cole exits. Brooks steps forward, throat tight. Sir, I should have stopped it. Cole studies him, weighing spine versus fear. You should have, he agrees. Moral courage beats physical courage. Practice both. Brooks nods, chastened yet steadier. The station doors swing wide and the mayor arrives, tie straightened, smile polished. Colonel Cole, a terrible misunderstanding, he begins, hand extended like a prop. Cole regards it for a beat, then lets it hover between them, unanswered. This wasn't a misunderstanding, Mayor, Cole says. It was systemic failure. The smile thins. Outside, satellite trucks anchor along the curb, dishes tilting like sunflowers. A senior Pentagon emissary steps from a black sedan, face granite. General Marcus Hale strides through the doors, 4 stars catching fluorescent glare. The room subtly reorders itself around his gravity. Hale moves straight to Cole, bypassing local theatrics. James, the secretary wants updates every 15 minutes, he says quietly. This has reached the West Wing. Cole nods once. Tell him I'm managing. Hale lowers his voice. The classified packet? Teams are recovering pages now. Breach protocol active. Initial assessment. No compromise of Tier 1 materials. Hale's gaze slides to Tate being interviewed across the room. That him? Cole follows the look and nods. Want me to end his career today? Hale asks softly. No, Cole replies. We follow process. Always. The word lands like doctrine and decision simultaneously. Cole's phone vibrates. He straightens infinitesimally. Excuse me, sir. It's the secretary. He steps aside. Yes, Mr. Secretary. Correct? Tier 1 remains intact. We're coordinating with local authorities and federal partners. No, sir, I won't discuss operational specifics. He returns to Hale as Bennett huddles with the FBI, cueing body cam footage. Tate killed his camera, the chief says grimly, but Brooks followed policy. The video unspools, neutral, merciless, a timeline indifferent to anyone's narrative. Tate paces in a break room watched by an MP who treats small talk like contraband. Colleagues pass in the hall and avert their eyes, as if he's already yesterday's roster. Outside, the number of news vans doubles. Lower thirds get written. High-ranking officer detained at roadside. Pentagon responds. Cole re-enters the bullpen. Hale raises an eyebrow. I'll speak, Cole says. Not wise, Hale replies. Sensitivities. Silence helps no one, he answers. I'll stay with policy. Nothing classified. Keep it on training, rights, supervision, Hale says. Always. Cole steps toward the entrance. Bennett and the mayor angle for camera position. The mayor goes first, offering fog. Unfortunate incident, full review, lessons learned, trust the process. Cole waits until the fog thins, then takes the top step. He doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't need to. Command presence works like gravity, unseen, relentless, bending microphones and attention toward him as if pulled by tide. I am Colonel Adrian Cole, United States Army, he says, tone even. What happened to me happens to citizens across this country daily. The difference is I have an institution at my back. Most who endure profiling do not. The words land clean and heavy. Reporters volley questions. Cole answers a narrow few, factual, contained, resolutely unsensational. No rancors, no flourish, just statements that resist spin and leave very little oxygen for deflection or euphemism. Through blinds, Tate watches the fabric fray. Cole's measured sentences tighten every thread. In the lot, MPs lay out recovered pages, photographing edges, mapping wind drift, and tagging chain of custody like prayer beads. Bennett checks his watch, then the break room door, and steels himself. He enters, squares up, and speaks. Sergeant, turn in your weapon and badge pending investigation. Tate's mouth opens. Words don't gather. The holster seems heavier than a minute ago, the room smaller. Two detectives witness the surrender. A property envelope swallows metal and leather, and the air loosens. Bennett's voice never spikes. Nolan, go home. Say nothing except to your representative. An MP escorts Tate to recover personal items. In the bullpen, Brooks stares at his hands, replaying each moment he didn't push back. Cole's phrase, moral courage, rattles his ribs. He squares his shoulders, seeks out the FBI team, and says, I have a complete statement to give. Agent Patel guides him into a side office. Start at first contact. Anchor to what you saw and heard. Don't speculate. Brooks exhales. He begins with the Harley pulling in. Every decision point, hesitation, the missing body cam, the envelope, the page scattering in wind. Across the hall, municipal council huddles with the mayor, drafting language meant to appease cameras. None of it will outrun pixels, already bouncing phone to phone with ruthless, multiplying neutrality. Cole returns to the floor and greets the MP major with a nod. Recovery status. 90%, sir. Mapped and bagged. Civilians are pointing out stray sheets. We're documenting. Good. Record every interaction, Cole says. He turns to Bennett. Chief, I appreciate the cooperation. Bennett swallows. Colonel, I failed policy by letting a problem stay on shift. Cole considers him. Fix the policy, and the culture that tolerates shortcuts. That's leadership. Optics won't carry the weight. A military lawyer reappears. Sir, public affairs can provide talking points. Cole shakes his head. I'll say what's necessary and nothing extra. The lawyer nods, relieved and worried. Down the corridor, the mayor tries on contrition like a suit that almost fits. Cameras crowd the glass. In the conference room, Hale fields a secure call, brow creasing. He glances at Cole. White House requests line of effort clarity and timing for your next steps. Cole doesn't need notes. Interagency coordination is underway. Document recovery nearly complete. Evidence transfer will be logged. Civil process leads, military equities, limited to classification control and officer safety, Cole answers. Hale's mouth twitches, the closest he gets to a smile. Outside, generator hum meets the distant circle of helicopters. A kid on a BMX slows, watching. Summer afternoon rewritten as civics lesson. Uniforms, microphones, cones, and consequences threading themselves into something like instruction. The doors open. A regional TV anchor hustles forward. Colonel Cole, do you believe race played a role? Cole's jaw tightens, then eases. I believe bias plays out through choices. Systems correct bias when leaders demand it and enforce it. He pivots to policy, training, supervision, accountability, documentation. The anchor presses. Are you calling for charges? I'm calling for thorough process, Cole answers. The crowd hears it as both restraint and indictment. Somehow at once, a staffer from the governor arrives, cheeks flushed, statement ready. The governor supports a full independent inquiry, she says, the word independent doing heavy work. Bennett notes the comma between his job and someone else's patience. Inside, Brooks finishes with the FBI and signs his statement. Agent Cruz thanks him. Courage isn't a speech, it's the next action. He nods, feeling lighter and older, like a hinge finally oiled. Outside, the sun angles, and shadows grow deliberate. Hale rejoins Cole. You sure you want to keep owning this publicly? Cole meets his eyes. If I don't, someone without a safety net pays the bill. Hale gives the world's shortest nod. A Pentagon aide slips in with a folder. Preliminary media scans, sir. Cole skims headlines and clips, outrage braided with relief. He sets it aside. We'll let facts talk. Across the room, Bennett inhales, squares his shoulders, and steps toward the microphones with unadorned resolve. Our department failed policy and community trust today, Bennett says. I've initiated administrative leave and requested outside review. We're cooperating fully with federal partners. He swallows. I'm accountable for training and supervision. That's my job, and I'm doing it, starting now. The statement is plain, unbeautiful, and therefore credible. Cole watches the chief choose the harder road and files that choice beside 100 missteps, proof that course corrections sometimes stick. Hale's gaze sweeps the room and lands on the MP major. Perimeter stays until evidence transfer is complete. Keep aviation loitering high, low signature. Yes, sir. The major peels off. Cole's phone gives a short priority buzz. He steps aside. Yes, Mr. Secretary. Understood. We'll leave council liaison in place and depart once the chain of custody is clean. He pockets the device, then centers himself, a man recalibrating, while the gears grind forward regardless. Bennett replays the body cam with Agents Cruz and Patel. Frame by frame, the story stays what it is. Facts stack. Tone leaks. Choices show. When did you realize Tate's camera was off? Why didn't he answer dispatch? How do you address pretextual stops? The agents ask patiently. Bennett answers without defensiveness. We'll fix what's broken, he says, hearing the truth of it. Leadership is maintenance, not performance. He signs a consent for evidence duplication and release. The break room clock is wrong by 6 minutes. Tate stares at it anyway, as if rewinding were possible. The MP returns with a small box of personal effects. Tate takes it, knuckles pale. In the hall, conversations dip as he passes. A rookie looks down, ashamed of what he almost learned. Outside, heat light softens, and the scene settles into its long administrative tale. Paperwork, statements, vouchers, logs, the bureaucracy that either buries truth or preserves it carefully. Cole ends a final call and finds Hale waiting with a raised brow. Statement complete? Complete enough, Cole says. Keep the focus where it belongs. Policy, supervision, rights? Hale nods. A communications officer offers to walk him out. Cole declines. He prefers stepping into the noise on his own power. On the stairs, a reporter tosses a question about missions abroad. Cole neither flinches nor bites. Not today, he says. Today is home front work. He returns to the microphones, fields two narrow questions, and closes with one deliberate sentence about dignity under the law. He steps back. The mayor tries to retake the stage, but attention has already decided its gravity well. Inside, an aide whispers that a community forum could cool the street. Tonight, Bennett says, invite everyone who filmed. The aide blinks, then nods. Accountability belongs in daylight, the chief thinks. Sunlight sterilizes where memos fail. Cole scans the perimeter, noting the careful professionalism of soldiers and local officers sharing space like wary neighbors. He thanks the major, then nods to Bennett. Chief, secure Brooks's footage, protect him from retaliation, overt or subtle. Bennett meets his gaze. Understood. Beyond the tape line, a teenager hands Harold Mason a bottled water. The older man smiles, tired, grateful, proud. He glances skyward just as a dark government sedan noses to the curb. Someone unexpected steps out, changing the math by merely arriving. A senior civilian from the department, jacket open, posture relaxed, eyes sweeping like radar. She confers briefly with Hale, then gives Cole a small respectful nod. The crowd senses a new layer and leans forward. Cole does not posture. He simply waits. The stillness of someone who understands process is the only durable shield here, and the only honest sword worth raising when spectacle begs for shortcuts. Reporters surge with fresh questions as Cole concludes, but he doesn't feed the frenzy. He repeats 4 pillars: policy, training, rights, process, stacked and level, no anger, no theater. Through station glass, Tate watches measured words tap the last nail into his story. A black sedan door opens wider, and the next chapter readies itself at the curb. For now, the moment settles, heavy, inevitable, and thoroughly recorded, its lessons stamped into memory, pixel, and protocol alike. The government sedan's rear door cracks in a smooth arc. A civilian aide steps out first, cradling a garment bag with drill field precision. He approaches Cole with a respectful nod, sidestepping the ring of microphones and shouted questions. Chief Raymond Bennett hurries over, nerves telegraphing through quick steps. General, Colonel, sir, we've prepared an apology statement. Cole lifts a hand slightly. One moment, Chief. He accepts the garment bag, small exchange heavy with meaning. Across the lot, General Marcus Hale watches, understanding. Cole disappears through the station doors, the noise dimming behind glass. In a quiet office, he unzips the bag with unflappable deliberation. The riding jacket comes off, crisp uniform comes on, buttons align, ribbons settle. The change is more than attire. It is declaration. Outside, Sergeant Nolan Tate stares through a window, confusion elbowing past defiance. What now? He mutters. Minutes later, when the doors open again, the man in the threshold isn't Colonel Adrian Cole anymore. 2 stars glint on each shoulder. Major General Adrian Cole, dress blues immaculate, campaign ribbons stacked like a biography you read with your eyes. The revelation races through the crowd. Cameras scramble, reporters fumble for angles, uniforms stiffen. Tate goes pale, blood draining, as the scale of his misjudgment lands with terminal clarity. Hale steps forward and renders a formal salute. Cole returns it, precise as a metronome. Sir, your security element is concerned about today's chain of custody issues, Hale says, tone clipped. Hearing the correct rank out loud sends another tremor through the assembly. Not just senior, flag officer. Cole faces the microphones again, authority now visible as well as felt. No one asks for quiet. It arrives on its own. Today was not an outlier, he says, voice level carrying. It fits a pattern that impacts service members of color nationwide. Heads lift, pens freeze. The implication is sharp. Cole wasn't merely caught in a bad stop. He's been tracking them. For 6 months, I've overseen a department review of roadside incidents near military installations, Cole continues, letting the thunder roll. Not coincidence, mission. Lakeside becomes a dot on a larger map. The department has a duty to safeguard all who serve, he says. If a general can be profiled and detained, consider what happens to junior enlisted. A team of military attorneys steps forward with tablets and folders, civil rights specialists moving like a practiced unit. One counsel addresses the bank of cameras. General Cole's experience will be added to 40-plus documented cases in this region alone involving service members of color. The mayor shifts, realizing this is no longer a story about one sergeant or one stop. It's about infrastructure. This is systemic, Cole says, calm as a scalpel. Inside, agents review Officer Tyler Brooks's body cam on hardened devices, while FBI partners annotate specific policy failures with timestamps and statute references. The implosion of Tate's career unfolds in plain view, not by shouting, but by paperwork. Cole directs quietly, expanding an operation that grows through policy, not posture. New arrivals thread the lobby. Department of Justice officials, summoned by Cole's staff, the instant custody was confirmed. General Cole's detention triggers automatic federal review under existing executive guidance, a DOJ attorney explains to Chief Bennett, who recognizes jurisdiction sliding from his grasp as the federal hand closes around process. Cole finds Brooks near dispatch. "Officer Brooks," he says, voice softened without losing command, "you hesitated. You sensed wrong, but kept going." Brooks looks down. "Yes, sir." "Hesitation can be the seed of moral courage," Cole replies. "Grow it." The contrast is deliberate. Instruction for the one who can change. Accountability for the one who wouldn't. Cole turns back to the officials gathering like a storm system. FBI, DOJ, Military Council, all speaking the language of statutes and chain of custody. "I expect full cooperation with the federal inquiry," Cole announces for the room, tone flat and official. "Obstruction will not be tolerated." It isn't vengeance, it's calibration. Systems correcting drift. An aide slips close with a secure satellite phone. "Sir, the White House requests your input on civil rights provisions." The camera flashes intensify, but the real work is already migrating indoors to conference tables, evidence logs, and deadlines that will keep marching long after the vans leave. 1 week later, the Pentagon's main briefing theater hums like a generator. Brass in rows, civilian leaders threading the aisles. Cole stands at the podium, ribbons the same, voice precisely modulated. 78 documented profiling incidents involving service members of color over 6 months, he begins. 42% led to illegal detentions or searches. 93% lacked probable cause apart from appearance or vehicle data scrolls, dates, bases, routes, anecdotes becoming architecture, the pattern impossible to shrug away. The Secretary of Defense leans in. "General, your recommendations." Cole moves to the next slide without needing to glance. "A comprehensive plan across military and civilian interfaces," he says. "Dedicated legal support for off-base encounters, civil rights training integrated with base community agreements, data sharing between military and local jurisdictions, legislative reinforcement for accountability." In Lakeside, the FBI Civil Rights Team occupies temporary space at City Hall, moving through records with quiet, relentless purpose. Agents take statements, pull traffic stop data, and chart complaint histories on whiteboards that look like maps of a storm. Back at the station, Bennett sits across from Agents Marisol Cruz and Neil Patel, tie loosened, fatigue showing. He answers carefully, then frankly, trying to salvage mission, if not pride. "Yes," he concedes, "we had previous complaints about Sergeant Tate." "How many?" Agent Cruz asks, already knowing. Bennett exhales. "Multiple excessive force and discrimination allegations," he says. "Our response wasn't enough." "Verbal counseling, one brief suspension," Patel says, flipping pages. "For 5 serious complaints?" The question isn't a question. Across town, the mayor faces an emergency council meeting packed with residents holding signs and phones. A recall petition circulates as a long-serving council member speaks bluntly. "This embarrassment is yours." The viral footage amplifies every sentence. At the station, Tate sits in the break room with a suspension notice and a union attorney who looks like bad weather. "They're structuring termination," the attorney says. My guidance, cooperate fully to mitigate exposure. Tate's jaw locks. I followed procedure. Then the procedure was unlawful, the attorney replies. Meanwhile, Brooks speaks to investigators with a steadiness that wasn't there before. We learned unwritten indicators, he says. Expensive vehicles, driven by minorities, out-of-state plates in certain neighborhoods, none inherently suspicious, treated as suspicion anyway. From whom? Patel asks. Training officers, Brooks answers. Sergeants, including Tate. The governor steps to a podium at the state capitol, announcing a special commission on constitutional policing. We've asked Major General Cole to advise on best practices, she says. In Washington, Cole testifies before judiciary panels, gravitas doing what volume cannot. Is Lakeside typical? Senator Michaels asks. The data is plain, Cole answers. This wasn't exceptional. That's precisely why it's unacceptable. The exchange makes the evening broadcasts. Instructors at the academy cue up Brooks's body cam for the next class. Pause here, a trainer says, freezing the moment of first contact. Count the violations. Cadets call them out. Pretext, tone, unlawful search, camera off. The Department of Justice announces a consent decree for Lakeside. Federal oversight for training, discipline, stops and supervision. Corrective, not punitive, a spokesperson says. But the audit language is granite. In the records, disparities have a slope. In the emails, bias has a voice. Patterns metastasize into findings that can't be waved away. Cole manages media sparingly, redirecting questions from his individual ordeal to the system it exposes. Do you want Tate fired? One interviewer asks. I want accountability and reform, Cole says. This is bigger than one badge or one town. At the Pentagon, leadership implements his off-base protection plan, clearer reporting channels, legal support expanded, community liaisons stationed at installations. The Defense Secretary announces, we owe our people more than thanks. We owe them safety, sima, and equal treatment. Kyoin Tate's departmental hearing gets calendared. The charges stack like bricks. Civil rights violations, false reporting, unlawful detention, failure to activate a body camera, mishandling sensitive materials. Cole declines to appear, sending a precise statement focused on policy, not payback. His point is consistent. Target the mechanics that allow the misconduct, not just the practitioner. Outside activists organize rallies. Unions issue bulletins about due process. Editorial boards argue the country's way toward a new baseline. Through it all, Cole stays steady, calibrating testimony, recommendations, and interviews with exactly the same discipline he'd bring to an operation brief. Each move is designed for durable effect, not catharsis. Then a twist. On hearing day, Tate does something nobody expects. The boardroom hums with camera gear, community members, and officials arranged in careful rows. An audience gathered for the anatomy of accountability. The blinds cast tidy bars of shadow across a long, polished table. Tate sits alone at a small rectangle, posture defensive, Union counsel close but not close enough to feel like allyship. The evidence piles, complaints, transcripts, charts, tell a story that doesn't need adjectives. The chair gavels in. We're here to determine administrative action regarding Sergeant Nolan Tate's conduct during the unlawful detention of Major General Adrian Cole. Findings roll out: biased policing, minimized complaints, sloppy incident reports, none an accident, all a pattern. The union lawyer tries a familiar path. He followed established procedures for suspicious persons and vehicles. A board member leans forward. Cite the precise policy authorizing detention without probable cause, she says. Silence. Bennett testifies next, walking a line between truth-telling and institutional oxygen. We trained constitutional policing, he says. Tate attended annually. And yet, we didn't intervene meaningfully on prior complaints, Bennett admits, the admission heavy. Our disciplinary system needed overhaul. Brooks testifies, stripped of defensiveness. telling the truth in present tense. I was taught to chase what we labeled as indicators that weren't indicators, he says. Expensive bikes, certain faces, certain plates. We treated those as cause by whom, the board asks. Senior officers, Brooks says, including Tate. Agent Cruz presents DOJ findings, charts that tilt the wrong way, years deep. Disparities don't lie. The line from culture to conduct is drawn in black marker. When it's his turn, Tate faces the choice everyone already knows is coming. He can double down or pivot. I believed I was doing my job as I was trained to do it, he says, voice lower, edges dulled. A board member doesn't blink. Were you trained to profile citizens by race? Not explicitly, Tate answers, but implicitly, every day. The room shifts, not toward absolution, but toward a clearer map of the mechanism that failed the town. Who earned praise? Tate continues. What stories were celebrated? Who got promoted? It all sent a message about what counted. I can't defend what I did to General Cole, but I wasn't alone in the message we were taught. His admission is both indictment and first honest service. After a brief recess, the board returns. Decision, termination, effective immediately, referral to prosecutors for potential civil rights charges. The symbols, badge, sidearm, go into a labeled envelope. In the hallway, Tate passes Brooks. They're making an example of me, Tate mutters, bitterness clinging to the words. Brooks shakes his head slowly. They're making a correction, he says. There's a difference. At the Pentagon, Cole receives the update while reviewing rollout plans for base-adjacent training. He nods once, no celebration, just acknowledgement that one gear has clicked. The bigger machine, the one he cares about, keeps turning. There's more to fix. There's always more. Months pass. Sunlight flares on brass as Cole addresses a graduating class at a state police academy. Presence does the work. His voice just points it. Tomorrow I retire from active duty, he says, one of his last appearances in uniform. The room murmurs. Since Lakeside, his name has become shorthand for a certain kind of reform. Hard, structural, measurable. I've accepted the directorship of a joint DoD-DOJ task force on civil rights and community policing, he adds, unsurprising and inevitable. Faces look like the future, more diverse than last year by design, not accident. Your badge is not power, Cole tells them. It's responsibility. It's a promise to defend rights as fiercely as safety. They write it down as if spelling matters. Many enrolled because the changes touch their lives. In Washington, a hearing room buzzes around the Cole Act, comprehensive legislation on training standards, accountability measures, and a reworked approach to qualified immunity with uncommon bipartisan gravity. Senator Loudon cites the Pentagon review. These patterns transcend geography, she says. They're too consistent to be weather. Cole's testimony is surgical. This isn't punishment, he says. It's protection of citizens' rights and officers' integrity. Departments begin shifting, mandated training refreshed, oversight boards with actual teeth, community engagement with metrics. Some agencies embrace quickly. Others move under decrees like Lakeside's. Either way, the slope changes direction. The math starts to look like progress. Back in Lakeside, a new chief, Rebecca Sanders, arrives with a mandate to rebuild. Federal monitors sit in on briefings as legacy habits are stripped away, replaced with policy that fits the Constitution first. Brooks reapplies after resigning during the audit, unwilling then to stay. Why should I rehire you? Sanders asks, reading his file. Because I learned early, Brooks answers. I know the cost of moral failure now. He gets a strict probation and the chance to help teach the new baseline. Across installations nationwide, community liaison offices open. Military legal teams expand their charters, explicitly covering off-base encounters. The Cole Task Force publishes a first-year report showing measurable improvement around bases, complaints logged, response times to investigations, training completion rates. with footnotes that refuse to let anyone congratulate themselves prematurely. Newspapers put the graphs above the fold, city councils put the deadlines into agendas. The narrative shifts from outrage to outcomes, from headlines to habit. At a lakeside community center, Cole, now in civilian clothes, faces residents who filmed that hot afternoon. Change isn't punishment, he says. It's alignment. Practice catching up to principle. Mrs. Whitaker raises a hand. What happened to you was awful, General, she says, correcting herself with a small smile. But what's happened since? Maybe some good rose from it. Cole nods at the complicated truth. Sometimes progress is provoked. The ripple keeps moving, finds new shores, forces new choices. Academies adjust curricula. Early warning systems flag officer patterns before they metastasize. Community oversight boards gain subpoena power instead of ceremonial chairs. Cole reviews dashboards like a commander scans a battle map. Green checks where roles of policy met reality. Yellow triangles where culture pushes back. He measures wins cautiously because backsliding is sneaky and inertia loud, but the needles do move. The math is gentler. The human stories, slower traffic stops, fewer grievances, begin to sound less like exceptions. Then a plain envelope lands on Cole's desk at Task Force headquarters, postmarked Lakeside. No return address. His assistant sets it at the top of the stack. Cole opens it, unfolding a single page written in measured script. At the bottom, Nolan Tate. The letter does not beg. It does not bargain. It describes therapy, community service, hard conversations with children about uniforms and consequences, and work he never thought he'd do in neighborhoods he once drove past too fast. I won't insult you by asking forgiveness, Tate writes. Some actions don't merit it. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. Understanding doesn't excuse, but maybe it prevents someone else repeating it. Cole reads without visible reaction, then slides the letter into a desk drawer instead of an official file. Not evidence, not exhibit. Human correspondence, separate from systems, quietly acknowledged, carefully contained. Then he reaches for the next folder, the next deadline, the next call. Later that week, Cole heads back to Lakeside. The Harley traded for an unremarkable sedan. The town looks different because habits look different. Oversight meetings are crowded and loud on purpose. Officers walk beats and know names. At the roadside where it started, there's a small bronze plaque. Site of the Cole incident, a catalyst for change. He reads it once, not smiling. Markers are for memory and warning. Inside the station, Chief Sanders pours coffee and opens spreadsheets. Sustainability is the agenda. The real test comes when no one's filming, Sanders says. That's why we built this into policy, not personality, Cole replies. They review numbers. At first, complaints spiked as trust rose. Later, they dropped as behavior changed. Traffic stop disparities are gone from the chart for the first time in the department's history. Evening brings a public forum. Former Chief Bennett, now consulting on reform, sits near Mrs. Whitaker, who has a front row question ready. Frank Mason, the older veteran who called his grandson that day, arrives with Lieutenant Mason in dress uniform. Most surprising is Brooks, now a field training officer with a notebook open, ready to translate principle into drill for rookies. Cole acknowledges them by name, then speaks with the same spare clarity he favors. A year ago, I experienced something many citizens experience daily, he says. The difference was not the stop, it was the response. He outlines measurable progress, not slogans. We didn't need new values, Cole concludes. We needed practice to match values we already claim. Afterward, Brooks approaches. Sir, I train new officers now, he says. I tell your story. Cole shakes his head. Tell them their own. Everyone gets a hinge moment, easy or right. Make them rehearse the right choice until it's muscle memory. They shake hands. It holds a year's worth of weight. Shame, repair, commitment, compressed into a small exchange that feels like forward motion. Driving out of town, Cole watches asphalt unspool through twilight and thinks about distance, the literal kind and the other kind. His phone rings. The White House wants to discuss scaling task force recommendations nationwide, funding, metrics, timelines. He answers with the line that's become a quiet compass for his days. Authority worth having is built on principle, not just power. On the horizon, the road bends. Ahead, more meetings, more drafts, more audits. Reform is a march, not a sprint. Back in Washington, Cole convenes a cross-agency session. Justice, defense, state AGs, big city chiefs, rural sheriffs, civil rights organizations. The table is crowded by design. He opens with numbers, pivots to stories, then lands on logistics, reporting thresholds, training hours, supervisory ratios, public dashboards. Nobody leaves with a headline. Everybody leaves with a checklist. We measure what we value, Cole says. We'll value what we measure. The mantra is tedious and transformative, the kind that changes payrolls and patrol routes. In Lakeside, Sanders implements a rotation that pairs rookies with community mentors, business owners, pastors, teachers, so beats are built on names, not assumptions. Brooks designs scenario drills where the indicator is a policy page, not a stereotype. Consent decree monitors don't just audit, they coach. The union signs onto new evaluation standards that reward de-escalation and adherence to civil rights law. An internal memo circulates. We don't grade on arrests, we grade on outcomes. Nationally, the Cole Act clears a procedural hurdle. Amendments refine qualified immunity reforms and standardize certified training hours across states. Cole refuses every invitation to become a cable regular. He prefers transcripts and footnotes to green rooms. He shows up where things are boring and binding, appropriations, subcommittees, and municipal budget hearings, where policy turns into purchase orders and mandatory training slots. The glamour never arrives. The progress does in increments, stamped with procurement codes and calendar invites. A reporter corners him outside the Capitol. General, what do you say to critics who call this anti-police? I say this is pro-constitutional policing, Cole replies. That protects officers as much as citizens. He's already moving toward his next meeting, where numbers will be argued and commas will matter. He has learned to push culture by moving policy one clause at a time, like chess with statutes. The board is the country. The clock is always running. In a small town 3 states away, a rookie stops a driver at dusk. The rookie's FTO, reading the Cole training module, nudges a breath, not a baton. Probable cause or pass, the FTO says. The rookie waves the driver on. Nothing happens, which is the point. No one films, which means the system worked before it needed defending. It's an invisible win, the kind worth multiplying. Back in Washington, Cole reviews new metrics, small dips, quiet victories. Lakeside's oversight board holds open office hours. Attendance is steady, conversations are less hot. Complaints still happen, but they're treated as signals, not insults. Brooks mentors a recruit through a shaky first month, using body cam reviews as coaching, not punishment. Slow down, he says. Ask, don't assume. The recruit nods, rewinds, tries again. Meanwhile, Sanders signs off on another community ride-along program. The point is repetitive by design. Good policy is boring and durable when it's done right. Cole's task force publishes a second quarterly update with trend lines that slope the correct way. Some regions lag. He names them without drama and provides playbooks. He's not building a brand. He's building a baseline. A staffer asks if he misses the uniform. Uniforms help, he says, but principle travels in any clothes. He files another set of recommendations. In the margins, someone writes, "We can do this." It's not inspiration so much as a plan disguised as hope. Another envelope arrives, this one from a mother whose son, a young airman, was stopped and waved on with courtesy near a base that used to be a hotspot. "It was ordinary," she writes. "Thank you." Cole pins the note to a corkboard crowded with unremarkable mercies. Thank yous for the boring, the lawful, the uneventful. They're his favorite kind of mail. The news still chases drama. He chases the absence of it, measured in quiet shifts and uneventful commutes. In Lakeside, a new cohort of recruits files into a classroom where a slide reads, Indicators versus. Bias Brooks clicks a remote. If your gut contradicts policy, your gut is wrong, he says. Your job is the Constitution on 2 feet. He assigns a drill. Write the policy cite before you touch a zipper on a bag. Know the line so you don't cross it, he says. It's less a slogan than muscle memory getting built one repetition at a time. The DOJ monitor addresses the city council. You're hitting milestones, she says, but milestones aren't endpoints. The mayor, new elected after the recall, nods. We'll budget like this is forever. Sanders smiles, thin and real. Afterwards, she texts Cole a photo. Squad room whiteboard with a checklist titled Boring Wins. It lists camera on, consent verbalized, supervisor notified, report filed, same shift. It's uninspiring if you don't know the alternative. Cole replies with a thumbs up and a period. A national conference on policing invites Cole for a keynote. He declines, sends a panel instead. Trainers, a city attorney, a community advocate, and Brooks. They talk about making compliance behavior, not belief. We didn't wait to change hearts, the advocate says. We changed incentives and supervision. Brooks explains the day he didn't speak up and what it cost. The audience is quiet in the right places, scribbling down drills and deadlines, not applause lines. In a Washington committee room, an amendment nearly guts a provision on data transparency. Cole leans forward, voice cool. If you remove the teeth, you remove the bite, he says. The public can't trust what it can't see. The language holds barely. He'll have to guard it again later. This is the job now. Hold the line in language so the line holds on the street. He doesn't mind the repetition. It's how walls get built. Lakeside Summer Fair returns with a booth shared by officers and the oversight board. Kids decorate badge-shaped stickers. Brooks hands out pamphlets titled What to Expect at a Traffic Stop. A father reads one, nods, says thanks without looking suspicious first. Across the midway, Sanders laughs at a dunk tank joke. Progress looks like small-town ordinary. Cole arrives late, unannounced, walking the perimeter. He leaves as quietly as he came, satisfied by the absence of spectacle. At headquarters, a young analyst shows Cole a heat map of complaint reductions around bases nationwide. Some hotspots cooled fast, she says, but a few are stubborn. He circles 2 with a pen. Send reinforcement teams, he says. Pair them with local trainers. Stick around longer. He pushes for more money, not for gadgets, but supervisors who can coach in real time. Leaders who can sit in a patrol car and make policy a lived thing. A senator stops Cole in a hallway. You've become the face of this, he says. Cole shakes his head. Let the work be the face, he answers. Build it so it stands without me. He hates personality cults. Systems are safer. He knows the cameras will eventually point elsewhere. Good, the checklists won't. He heads to another windowless room where people argue about metrics and liability. It's not glamorous, so it might actually last. In a precinct far from Lakeside, a sergeant clicks a body cam on without thinking because the habit is now automatic and the penalty for forgetting is certain. He asks for consent. He logs the answer. Nothing dramatic happens, which is the point. An oversight board member watches a random audit later and smiles. In Washington, Cole signs off on another quarterly. He lets himself write one hopeful sentence in the cover memo. Then he deletes it. The data can speak. The Cole Act clears the chamber. It's not perfect, no law is, but the scaffolding is sturdy. States begin aligning training hours and reporting standards to the federal bar. Grants favor departments that can prove compliance. Cole's phone buzzes with congratulations he barely reads. He thanks his team, then circles back to the 2 stubborn hotspots on his heat map. He's less interested in victory laps than in outliers. Progress isn't evenly distributed yet. That's unacceptable. He assigns more help. In Lakeside, Chief Sanders finalizes a promotional board with criteria that weight de-escalation, supervision, and complaint history heavily. The old metrics, Arrest counts and seizure totals no longer carry glory. Brooks sits on the panel, surprised at how ordinary fairness feels when made into a rubric. We promote what we measure, Sanders says, so we'll measure what we want to become. The department prints new posters. Policy is a promise. Nobody makes speeches. They just show up and do it. On base, the liaison office hosts a joint training with local officers. Military lawyers walk through citizens' rights. Local prosecutors explain charging thresholds. Community leaders talk about trust. The room is mixed uniforms, shared pencils. Someone asks Cole to speak. He declines again. Better that the locals own the microphone. The goal is transfer, not attention. Afterward, he thanks the instructors privately and asks for the next 3 dates. Momentum is a schedule, not a feeling. A rookie in Lakeside faces a senior's offhand bias in the locker room. He pushes back politely and firmly, quoting policy and reminding the room the monitors pull random footage each week. The senior shrugs, walks away. Culture moves by inches, or not at all, until rules make it move. At home that night, the rookie writes moral courage on an index card and tapes it inside his locker. Brooks notices the next day and doesn't say a word about it. Cole meets with civil rights groups who remain skeptical because they've seen reform cycles stall before. He listens without arguing, notes specifics, and adjusts timelines. Hold us to outcomes, Itsorchin, Hitachi, he says. Don't take process as proof. He invites them to sit on grant review boards. When a measure misses, he says so in public. He has decided that admitted failure is a better teacher than defended mediocrity. It costs him no pride he wants to keep. A journalist finally asks the question plainly, "General, why haven't you written a book?" "I'm busy writing policy," Cole replies. "If we do this right, you'll be bored." The journalist laughs, then thinks about it. In Lakeside, the oversight board meets with a room only half full, a victory disguised as apathy. Complaints are down, not because people gave up, but because stops are different. The board still watches, still audits. Trust gets maintained, not assumed. At the task force office, a small celebration marks the first anniversary of the consent decree. Cupcakes, paper plates, a slideshow of charts. Someone reads a thank you note from a teenager who bikes through a corridor that used to be a gauntlet. "It's normal now," she wrote. Everyone applauds for normal. Cole says little, mostly thanks staff by name. Afterward, he throws away the balloons himself because he likes demonstrations that power can take out the trash. A late memo from the field warns of backsliding in a neighboring county, new leadership, old habits. Cole calls the state AG and a DOJ liaison before dawn. By lunchtime, a site visit is scheduled. Levers exist now, grants, standards, monitors the act, and he intends to pull them. The point of a system is not to trust people to be good, it's to make the right thing easier and the wrong thing harder. He repeats it like a prayer. The second year of reforms begins with less noise and more work. Cole's team expands training videos that favor scenarios and language over lectures. Officers practice saying, "Here's why I stopped you," and "May I have your consent to search?" until the phrases sound normal in their mouths. Civilians learn to ask, "Am I free to go?" The goal isn't adversarial, it's clarity. Clarity prevents fear. Fear breeds mistakes. Mistakes cost trust first and then lives. A small town paper runs a profile of Brooks, not a hero story, just a quiet arc from bystander to instructor. He clips it and puts it in a drawer for a day. He forgets what he's trying to be. Sanders nominates her department for a state award no one has heard of because none of this is television. Cole flies to a base town with one stubborn metric and spends 2 days with supervisors. He finds 3 friction points and fixes 2. Good start. Back at headquarters, Cole signs letters to chiefs who hit milestones. They're short and unsentimental because he doesn't believe in lavish credit for doing the job. He also signs 2 stern notices for departments that missed deadlines, with reminders about consequences. The point of a standard is that it stands whether you like it or not. He rubs at a scar on his cheek when he's tired. Habit, not drama, and schedules another round of site visits anyway. He returns to Lakeside for a low-key check-in. The plaque at the roadside has collected a few flowers that weren't there last time. He doesn't know who left them. He doesn't need to. He meets Sanders, reviews dashboards, thanks the oversight board, and leaves without a camera in sight. On his way out, he watches an officer wave a driver on with a smile. No violation, no lecture. It's nothing. And it's everything the work was meant to build. In a classroom, Brooks teaches a segment titled Stops in the Wild. He plays random clips and asks the room to identify good decisions, not just bad ones. Catch your training working, he says. The recruits are quicker now at naming consent, probable cause, and de-escalation. He quietly marks who speaks up and who stares at the table. Later, he pulls two aside, not to scold, but to coach. Courage can be cultivated. It needs practice and a nudge. The former chief, Bennett, speaks at a reform symposium about how leadership tolerates what it doesn't measure. He does not make excuses. I should have moved sooner, he says into a microphone that makes regret sound clinical. Delay is a decision. He mentors a younger chief now, warning her about gravel in the gears, culture, budget, backlash, and how to keep the machine moving anyway. The work is humbler than he imagined. It is more important, too. Cole's task force releases another report with case studies cataloging not just numbers, but mechanics, what worked where, why, and how to replicate it. A skeptic reads the executive summary and finds more footnotes than adjectives. Good. Cole insists on citations because citations survive elections. A junior staffer asks if they can add a quote. No, Cole says. Add another chart. He smiles when he says it, but he means it. Evidence outlasts inspiration 99 times out of 100. A late morning call brings news of a tense stop near a base, handled well by officers who asked for consent and accepted no like professionals. The driver later sent a thank you email. Cole forwards it to the department with a line, "Reinforce this." He knows behavior gets repeated when it's noticed. Negative feedback matters. Positive examples travel too. He's not interested in medals. He's interested in habit. Habits build the bone of a culture, one small act at a time. Lakeside's council renews funding for civilian oversight without the fight that used to attend such votes. The chair reports fewer complaints and faster resolutions. The mayor, new and less camera-hungry, notes that insurance premiums are down because lawsuits are down. Money talks when morals need a microphone. Sanders hires 2 more supervisors, not because calls skyrocketed, but because span of control numbers matter for coaching. This is how reform looks on a ledger: salaries, trainings, audits, and less glare in courtroom lights. Cole attends a roundtable with community leaders who remain watchful. They should be. He offers transparent metrics, not promises. If you see slippage, call me, he says, and hands out cards with a direct line. People keep those cards. A pastor tells him the streets are quieter at night. A teenager says the bus ride feels normal. Cole files both comments under unofficial indicators, right next to charts. Sometimes you need both a ledger and a heartbeat to steer right. At a nearby base, a commander asks how to maintain momentum when personnel rotate and local elections rearrange stakeholders. Cole recommends codifying agreements, institutionalizing joint training, and building redundancy into oversight so it doesn't hinge on personalities. Systems outlast us, he says. That's the point. The commander nods, bites the inside of his cheek, and writes a note he will later turn into an order. Policy becomes practice by signature first, repetition second, accountability third. Brooks catches Cole at a community event. I tell recruits your story every week, he says. Cole shakes his head. Tell them theirs, he answers. Nobody grows on someone else's myth. They grow when they recognize their own hinge. They share a short handshake. Respect, not ritual. On the way to his car, Cole's phone rings. The West Wing, again, about expanding implementation timelines nationally. He answers on the move. The work rolls on, gear by gear, without applause. As he steps into the hallway light, the lesson condenses into the sentence he's been carrying since Lakeside. Real authority derives from principle, not mere power. He repeats it into the phone, not as a slogan, but as operating guidance. If this story moved you, don't sit on it. Subscribe to us and tap the bell so you never miss what's next. Join a community that understands stories can shift systems, one policy, one person, one practice choice at a time. Lesson: authority worth. Having is built on principle. Those of us with snowy hair have seen power used as a shortcut and principle used as a compass. On a sun-cracked shoulder outside a small American town, a decorated officer, Adrian Cole, learned again what many of us learned in the 60s. A badge without restraint can turn mile markers into danger signs. Lights flashed, a holster twitched, and dignity met heat rising off 100-degree asphalt. Cole didn't shout. He counted facts, guarded breath, and let the clock do its work. When the truth arrived, ranks revealed, agencies mobilized. The point wasn't revenge. It was calibration. Rights are not favors. They are the rules of the road. For seniors who've marched, voted, and buried friends, the lesson lands plain. Demand cameras on, consent asked, supervisors called, reports filed the same day. Make the boring steps non-negotiable, because justice isn't upheld by muscle, but by muscle memory. Habits repeated until a traffic stop feels as ordinary as buying a gallon of milk. Power bends, principle holds. Friends, what habits do you believe should be non-negotiable at every traffic stop? Camera on, reason stated, consent requested, supervisor notified, so rights are protected without drama. If you were in General Cole's boots on that hot day, what would you want your children and grandchildren to learn from your response? Share a story from your own miles on America's roads. Your comments help others, especially younger drivers, learn the calm, lawful steps that keep everyone safe. If this resonated, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tap the bell for more practical lessons that matter.